Well, we have a record number of entries, the biggest field ever in the Australian touring car history. Let's have a look at how they line up on the grid. As I said earlier, for the 57th time in his Shell Australian touring car career, the King of the Road is off pole position for his very last Australian touring car drive. His teammate Greg Murphy alongside Glenn Seaton and AJ make up row 2.
Row 3 is Mark Larkham and Tony Longhurst. Row 4 is John Bowe and Russell Ingall.
Row 5, Larry Perkins with Wayne Gardner making his comeback to the Shell Series. Row 6, John Faulkner and Dick Johnson.
We go back to row 7. Stephen Richards shares that row with Stephen White. Paul Romano makes his return along with Darren Hossack.
Row 9 is Terry Finnegan and Trevor Ashby. Row 10 is John Briggs and John Trimble.
And they just keep coming. Row 11, Chris Smurton and Danny Osborne and the colour scan Ford. Row 12, Melinda Price and the Castrol Commodore and Neil Shembry.
All the way back to row 13, Claude Georgie and John Cotter. Row 14, Mike Conway and Gary Wilmington.
Wow, row 15, Richard Mork and Wayne Russell. That's a long way to come from.
We're getting set for a start. Race 1 of 3. This is grand final day here at Oran Park. And have a look at the crowd in the background. We're getting set. Such a colourful grid. And this would be fantastic for Brock to win it.
And watch the two left-handers, the first left-hander and the second left-hander at the end of the straight. Jonesy, good start on the left-hand side of the picture.
The balloons are let fly. We've got a great start to Heat 1 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship Grand Finale. It's Holden Racing Team side by side. It looks like Greg Murphy on the outside.
Oh!
Brock very tightly squeezed by his teammate on the inside, but through Coca-Cola corner, it looks like Brock's going to lead the pack. Oh,
bit of nudge, wink there through those first couple of corners. Seaton's got himself up there. Looked like Ingall got himself up there as well very quickly.
Well, there was plenty of squeeze there on the first corner. Peter Brock it was in 0.5, the poleman muscling his way through on his younger teammate Greg Murphy.
Ingall's gone.
Ingall, yeah, on the right-hand side of your picture there.
Slowing right down. Russell Ingall didn't need that. He was right up there very, very quickly, and now he's gone. He's just drifted back. But it's Brock leads away from Murphy, Seaton, Jones, Longhurst, back to Larkham. Then we pick up John Bowe, Wayne Gardner. Let's have a look at the replay of the earlier incident. Watch if you can see any contact. Perhaps that's what's put Russell Ingall out.
Somebody locking him up in a major fashion there.
Looks like he got a big biff from the back. I can't quite see that car at the moment. Looks like it might be John
it looks Faulkner. John Faulkner. Well, that's
Faulkner.
And Larry Perkins off.
Larry.
So that was Perkins who looked like he got hit by Faulkner in that big first lap shuffle. Meanwhile, the field sorting itself out. Peter Brock now in command in Mobile 05. Greg Murphy right behind him in the second of the Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodores. Seaton up to third position, Jones in fourth, and Longhurst in fifth. Now Seaton is sitting pretty right now because John Bowe is back in seventh position.
It's going to be really interesting to see what Glenn does, whether he's going to get up there and mix it with Brocky and Murphy, or whether he's going to sit back there and. What would you do? Championships at stake. You can't afford, the Murphy, have a look at the inside Brocky. You can't afford when you've got a championship on the line to sort of get up there and get really brave.
Well, Peter Brock starting from pole position. He leads the way now. It would be fantastic for Peter to win this one and, in fact, go on and win the day. Seaton is sitting back there in third. Interesting to see with the manufacturers because early in the year it was pretty much even par. Holden has streaked ahead. They've got double the amount of round wins this year. Holden have got 6 wins, Ford 3 wins, and this is looking pretty ominous at the moment with the 2 Mobile HRT cars out in front looking very strong.
We saw a very dominant performance here last year from Peter Brock.
John Trimble.
Yeah, John Trimble in trouble. Smoke belching from the back of the Castrol. Sorry, the Daily Planet car. Here we are, braking hard. We're on board with Peter Brock leading this race, and look at the concentration on this man's face. Laser speed, 219 kilometres an hour down the main straight as he braked hard for Coca-Cola corner. Looking up in the rearview mirror, coming out under Dunlop Bridge. Brakes hard once again for Shell corner. Peter Brock would love nothing better to go out on a winning note. He's certainly proving very competitive here.
With Peter Brock's driving style, this place suits him down to the ground because it's all about being really smooth, not throwing the thing around. And as we saw when he took the pole position, that's so good. If he could win this race, it would be enough, wouldn't it, to set the place on fire?
Well, he's got more pole positions here at Oran Park than anybody in the history of the Australian Touring Car Championship. It was his 8th pole here at Oran Park, and when he got out of the car yesterday, he said to his wife, Bev, that was just unbelievable. There's Russell Ingall.
Well, there goes Russell Ingall's hopes.
Well, that's one out of the
equation.
equation.
First Shell Championship. He's out of the car. What a huge disappointment for the Castrol team.
He was very disappointed after qualifying because the best that he could do was 8th position, and he was very disillusioned with that. And so now he is out of the race and he is out of the running for the championship. Well, we can say, possibly mathematically, if something very bad happens to Seaton and Bow, which we don't wish upon them, could happen, but we've got to say that Russell Ingall's hopes have taken a dramatic
You've got to say here on this weekend that the Bridgestones and the Yokohama tyres appear to be working better than the Dunlops, because the Dunlop guys are really struggling.
Well, just a brief word that we've had is that it could possibly be a broken steering arm on Russell Ingall's car. There was quite a bit of biff and barge in that opening couple of corners. Someone there just going off and touching the infield. So perhaps that's what did it, because we saw him just storm up there and then all of a sudden drop back. So that would make sense. Alan Jones, Tony Longhurst, they're well placed 4th and 5th respectively. Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Falcon, he's running strongly as well back there in 6th. They're starting to spread themselves out, all but our two leaders up the front, I should say, the two HRT cars. There's Alan Jones in the Komatsu Pertec entry. Great to see Pertec stay with AJ right throughout this season. They've given him some tremendous support.
It's going to be really interesting to watch Brocky and Murphy to see whether the Murphy's going to sort of obviously going to have a go at getting up the front there. But how could you do it? You know, could you take a win away from Brocky? No, the Murphy, yes, is the answer to that.
Just having a look at Alan Jones there, get very sideways out of that bottom corner, out of Coca-Cola corner. He's circulating well in 4th position. Tony Longhurst going well. He had a strong qualifying effort. There's a good battle looming in that background there between Larkham, Bow and Gardner. Faulkner's top privateer in 9th and Stephen Richards is in 10th. Tony Longhurst, the Castrol Ford.
Yeah, poor old Tony can definitely do with a decent result. This must be one of the leanest seasons he's had for a long, long time. And, you know, for it all to come right just before the Australian 1000, you know, I guess if it's going to come right any time, it's better to be right at the end rather than the beginning.
Well, we saw him have a great round at Lakeside. He ran very strong to pick up 3rd in that final race, and he was very happy with that. They were happy with their tyre selection, and he said after the race, he said, see, it's not me. He said, we're just working with the tyres. We're working to find out what the best combination is.
Yes, and there's no one that thinks that he's Tony Longhurst. We've all seen what he can do, so nobody thinks that he forgets how to drive a car overnight. It's obviously some problem with the tyre situation.
Have a look at John Bow starting to creep up on the Mitre 10 Falcon of Mark Larkham. Bow is back in 7th position. That's not good enough in terms of points, and I'm not having a go at John there, but he needs to get higher as he has a look up the inside of Larkham. We go on board with John Bow, working the back of that Mitre 10 Falcon fairly hard, looking for a way to get through, and desperately needs more points.
As it stands, Seaton's lapping just a fraction slower than Murphy and Brock, you know, so he's not losing any ground to Jones either, so he's in a safe position as it stands.
Let's go down to the pits. Mark Osas with Russell Ingall.
Yes, Lee, and obviously a very disappointed Russell Ingall. Russell apparently a bent steering arm. What happened there?
Yeah, well, I got a burst at start. I think I was into about 4th there. I was inside of Jones, going into the bottom corner there, and he started to squeeze across on me, and I was trying to give him plenty of room not to hit him. I suppose that'll teach me. But the curb just caught the inside of the left-hand steering arm, and it's just bent the steering arm, and it's got about 40 mil toe out, and she's a bit undrivable. So it's not something we can fix here. It's not worth it. So out to the next one.
Yes, as they say, that's motor racing. Thanks, Russell.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, hard luck there to Russell Ingall. The Castrol Commodore, his first race is over, and almost certainly his championship hopes are gone. Nevertheless, a very strong season for only his 2nd season in the Shell Series.
You've got to hand it to this lot, the HRT lot, because when they came here, Murphy and Brock were complaining that the cars didn't turn in very well. They understeered a bit and then oversteer. They are so good. You know, they're a real class act. You know, Murphy went out, they tried something, it didn't work, they went the wrong direction, and then sure enough, when it came to go, lock her up, Peter. Just the weight going off the inside left-hand tyre there. Yes, and they dialed the thing in, he went out and he was 100% happy with it. Well, 100% is a bit of an exaggeration, but he was a lot happy with it. See there, Jones, he looks like he's just catching Seaton.
Well, let's not forget that Peter Brock got pole last year and in fact won the round here in 1996. It'd be great to see him do it again at his farewell Shell Australian Touring Car Drive, but this is the man who's in the box seat at the moment.
Yeah, AJ's really getting his finger out now because he lapped, half a second quicker that lap. no doubt.
Glenn Seaton looking down the barrel of his second Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. He last won it in 1993. 3 times he has come into the last round of the championship with a shot of winning.
It's really, look at this, look at the way how hard he's working. Gives you a rough idea. You do 20 laps around here. It's not like a Sunday afternoon relaxing drive, even though when you look at Glenn's face, he always looks like he's out for a sort of a bit of a run. But just watch, look. Just feathering on the power there. With the kind of horsepower these things have got, you can't come out of a corner and just flatten it.
Well, on Friday when we were here for, of course, practice for the privateers, our producer Andrew Radford and Mark Osler went for a ride with Glenn Seaton, and they got out there. Their eyeballs were very much enlarged, and they just said that was fantastic. They just thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it didn't take much to clean the seat up either, did it?
Alan Jones starting to hone in now. He's going really well. He's right up with Glenn Seaton, sitting in 4th, challenging for that 3rd spot, keeping you up to date with the others. Longhurst 5th, Bauer's got himself up to 6th now. Gardner, Faulkner, Larkham has dropped back to 9th. Stephen Richards is in the top 10. There's the Shell Helix race score for you as things hot up. Peter Brock's looking good for a win here at Oran Park. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Oran Park. You're watching race 1 of 3 here on Grand Final Day. And here's your race leader. We ride with him, Peter Brock. He's working very hard. It's a lovely day here in Sydney, and it'll be quite hot inside the car. You can see there he is working really, really hard. There's the gap between Peter and his teammate Greg Murphy. That's 1st and 2nd at the moment. Quite a big gap back to 3rd. The battle for 3rd between the 2 Ford drivers, Glenn Seaton and Alan Jones.
It's going to be interesting when we see that battle, because Jonesy knows that Glenn can't, if Jonesy stuffs his nose up the inside, he knows that Glenn isn't going to want to get taken out. So he knows that Glenn isn't going to give him a hard time. So I think we could see AJ up in 3rd spot.
Sure, there's no love lost here too, unless the amicable split between these two a couple of years ago.
Well, the way it stands at the moment with Glenn Seaton sitting in 3rd position and John Bowe back in 6th, Seaton has extended the lead, or will have extended his lead as Jones comes up the inside. No. To 10 points. So if they stay as they are, Bowe, Seaton in 3rd, Bowe in 6th, Glenn will have a 10-point lead.
Well, Jones is pushing really hard here. We go on board with Glenn Seaton, just looking over his shoulder. And that mirror is just going to be full, as XR Falcon onboard camera shows you. Glenn Seaton really feeling the heat of Alan Jones breathing right down his neck for a nice quick run out of Recaro corner onto the main straight. There's Jones. And the Komatsu Ford tucked right in behind him. Gap to the Holden Racing team, Giro at the front, the 2 Mobile Commodores. 5 seconds in front.
It does, Jones, it does look like Glenn's car's got a little bit more top-end speed than AJ's, but if it comes to, what can you say?
Oh,
yes, done him!
Jones up the inside. Seaton gives him racing room too. Doesn't want to get involved in that.
Exactly, totally my sentiments.
But he does want to keep trying to pick up as many points as he can. So Seaton now riding with him in the Ford Credit Falcon. Alan Jones in front as they head up over the Dunlop Bridge once again. Seaton trying to drive a tactical race here.
When you think about it, Mark, if you had to fight with anybody, I think the last geezer I'd choose would be Jonesy.
Well, I think things are looking good for the Bridgestone tyre manufacturer, because they've got the top 4 positions at the moment. Gardner's got his way up into 5th. He's going well. We've got 2 Yokohama shot cars then. We go back to Longhurst, then it's Gardner, then Bowe.
Yeah, the Longhurst last lap was 3/4 of a second quicker than both Seaton and Jones. So that's good for Tony.
Well, John Bowe had to put a spare engine in the Shell 18 Ford earlier today. We saw in the warm-up smoke starting to belch from the car. They brought it into the pits, realised he had an engine failure. They had to change the engine before this first heat. Hopefully it's not the unit that's maybe lacking a bit of horsepower. John Bowe, as you can see, Gardner snuck through on the inside of him there. Bowe now back in 7th.
And there was also some drama for the Shell team as well, because apparently Cams was saying that their cars were too noisy. So they wouldn't wish to black flag one of the, especially John Bowe, or more especially John Bowe, because of the championship situation. So I don't know what they've done about the noise level.
Well, it's a real thriller at the moment. Ingle out of this battle is between Seaton and John Bowe. Seaton in 4th, Bowe in 7th. So the points chase still very close.
Gardner, a welcome return to the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, along with a new sponsor, along with Coca-Cola, and that's the Donut King. You can see it there on his bonnet. He's getting himself geared up for the endurance races. Of course, the Sandown 500 in September, the Australian 1000 Classic in October. Gardner looks likely to be teamed up with his old teammate Neil Crompton. Neil will return from the US for those 2 endurance races.
Never seen Wayne smoke the bags, you'd say he was the Donut King too.
When you see Faulkner's lap time, last lap was quicker than Bow's, so Bow could be coming under pressure from Faulkner there. You see he's caught up quite a lot of ground.
Stephen Richards in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore looming in the background as well.
Holden Racing Team. Mobile Commodore's way out in front of this bunch. Oh, there's been coming together there. Mike Conway and
Wilmington.
Gary Wilmington, yep. But looks like they're both getting back into the race. But the Holden Racing Team opening up this lead. 6.2 seconds the gap.
What an entry
Murphy.
for this, Mark. 30 cars. It's quite incredible, isn't it?
So there's your position, 6 through 10. Gardner, Bow back in 7th, Faulkner in 8th, closing on the Shell 18 Ford. Outside the top 10, Larkham back in 11th, after his best qualifying performance. Stephen White, the Young Lions, Commodore Perkins, Romano Finnegan.
I have to say, this guy that's up the top here giving us these pictures, I would not like to be in his position on a windy day.
Well, here he is, the Ford Credit pilot, Glenn Seaton. He is running in 4th position with Tony Longhurst coming right up on him. So this is looking good for John Bow. We've got 4 laps left to run. And if Longhurst works his way past Glenn Seaton, well, this is going to make the points battle really interesting. Here comes Longhurst, he's on fire. So too is Gardner, because Gardner's starting to pick up the pace as well.
Well, this is great for Tony Longhurst. We saw this car work particularly well on the Yokohamas up at Lakeside, his home test track, and the car has really been on the pace from the opening untimed session here. Castrol Falcon working particularly well. And you can see the speed he's getting out of the car now as we go on board with Glenn Seaton. He's in the sandwich. Alan Jones up ahead, Tony Longhurst closing from behind. So Seaton is really going to have his work cut out for him today. XR Falcon on board, Camarillo riding with him. Jones hasn't got too far ahead. And Seaton just holding position.
Well, not only good for today, Mark, for Tony Longhurst, but a really good sign for the upcoming endurance races. He's teamed up with Charlie O'Brien, and they should look fairly good for both the Sandown 500 and Australian 1000. We'll focus on this battle at the moment. Longhurst starting to close in on Glenn Seaton. Don't forget, it's the 2 Mobile HRT Commodores up the front. Brock leading, Murphy second. Alan Jones, here you can see him out of the windscreen of Glenn Seaton's car. 3 laps left to run, and there's the battle. Longhurst starting to reel Seaton in.
Yeah, I think Seaton's turned up the wick a little bit that time, because he lapped a fraction quicker than Longhurst. So maybe, you know, Glenn, you know how clever the guy is. He'll just be conserving his tyres. You know, he knows that he can't catch Jonesy. So, you know, why take your tyres to pieces? You know, the best thing to do is just save the package as much as you can.
Look at the windscreens, O'Brien, driver profile for Tony Longhurst, Bathurst winner with Thomas Mazzera back in 88, 4 times AMSCAR champ, winner of the Sandown 500 in 85 for BMW, and first in the Wellington 500 for the same brand. There's his top positions from 1997. 5th, the 9th and 8th. Best was a 4th up at Lakeside, where he was going particularly well. It's been a very inconsistent season for Tony, but he's really pumped up about these endurance races to come.
Laps running out here at Oran Park, grand final day. Can Longhurst, as he gets a little bit sideways, do anything about Glenn Seaton in 4th position? He sure is trying hard. He's got the lights on now and is really starting to go hard. The car a little bit out of shape under brakes coming into Recaro speed line. 2 laps left to run. The battle of the Fords. Ford Credit up against Castrol. Can Longhurst get him?
Well, John Bow looks powerless to make any improvement on where he is. Running around in the 1 minute 10 second bracket. There's 2 Holden Racing Team cars out front are in the 9s. So Holden Racing Team, those 2 Mobile Commodores really have been in dominant form here, as they were last year.
Top privateer John Faulkner. John's doing well. He's up in 8th position behind John Bow, ahead of Stephen Richards, and Dick Johnson, we see, has got himself up into 10th position.
This is the sort of situation Tony Longhurst will relish. Hasn't been particularly competitive throughout the season. Has seen a few high points, but when he gets the package right, he really is a potent combination. And he's really trying to take advantage of it here, trying to close in on Seaton. He's got 1 lap to the left, but it looks like Seaton may just have enough up his sleeve to hold him out.
Somebody else who's got 1 lap left is this guy, Peter Brock. He's only had the 1 race win all year, which was at Symonds Plains in Tasmania early this year. The windscreen's O'Brien, in-car camera, and those dreadful conditions at Symonds Plains. He's on his way home. He's looking at his second race win of the year. He had a round win at Barbagallo in Western Australia a couple of rounds ago, and the crowd, the fans just went wild. And if he wins here today, the crowd are going to tear the joint apart. It's Murphy still in second, Jones, Seaton, Longhurst, Gardner, Bow, Faulkner, Richards and Johnson. They're your top 10. Stephen White is doing well. He's got himself up into 11.
Yeah, some of the cars have had problems with noise restrictions here. Trying all sorts of different systems to try and keep the exhaust systems down below the DBA level. Peter Brock heading toward the checkered flag. Boy, this guy really knows how to bow out in style.
No, you say that again.
He is quite often when you see drivers get toward the end of
Hear
their
the
career,
crowd.
quite often when you get, they're like, oh, cheering him on. Tremendously popular driver. But you see drivers get toward the end of their career, maybe they're not on the same form as they used to be, but Brock is going out right on top. He's just as competitive as ever.
Last lap, last corner. Here he comes, the king of the road. From pole position, he wins race 1 at Oran Park. Well done, Peter Brock and his Mobile HRT teammate, Greg Murphy. Alan Jones in for second. The battle's on for fourth. Seaton just gets there. Glenn Seaton looked like he just got there ahead of Tony Longhurst. What a tremendous battle for that fourth spot. The two Ford drivers battling it out, but there's the man of the moment. Peter Brock from pole position picks up his second race win of the season. He'll be happy about that. Let's check those final placings for you on the Shell Helix race score. Brock and Murphy the 1-2, Jones in for third. Seaton did hang on for fourth ahead of Tony Longhurst.